Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking about how to negotiate a property purchase. Hello, my name is Marco. I'm a property investor, developer and mentor. So today we're talking about property negotiation and how to negotiate and how to purchase property. Now this is suitable for both your personal live-in property but also investment property, whether that be to buy to let, HMOs, service accommodation or anything else. Now it's really important that you stay tuned to the very end of this video because at the end I'm giving 5 killer tips that I've learned over the years of investing in property, and I think by implementing and using these tips alone you could probably save yourself at least 4 or 5 figures on every single property acquisition you make going forward. So before we even come on to the 2 main strategies when it comes to negotiation and purchasing property, there's a really important question that you need the answer to. What's important to the vendor? What's important to the seller? And what do I mean here? Well, is price important? Is it really important for them to maximize the price and to get that price they're looking to sell their property for? Or is something else more important? Is time important? Are they looking to sell the property fast? Have they got to sell the property within a certain number of days, weeks, or months? Normally you'll find one of those 2 is most important to the seller, and this normally dictates which strategy we implement. Now, how do I actually get the answer to this question? Well, when you're viewing a property, or maybe when you're speaking with an agent, or maybe you're speaking directly with the vendor or with the seller, you can maybe ask certain questions or actively listen, and from the answers to those questions and from what you're hearing, you can maybe deduct what's important to them. Sometimes you can just blankly ask them and say, right, what's important to you? Is it getting the right price? Or actually, is it selling this property within 4-6 weeks? And from there, we'll be able to discuss strategy a bit more and choose the applicable strategy. Because what's really important, if you don't ask this question, or at least you don't get the correct answer to this question, all of a sudden then you're not too sure which strategy to implement. And if you implement the wrong strategy, well, guess what? You're probably not going to acquire the property. We need to give ourselves the best probability of our offer being accepted and matching the strategy to the particular circumstances for the vendors and for the sellers. Okay, so what are those 2 strategies? Well, first of all, we have what's called the stepped up or the tiered strategy, and this is where we slowly increase our offers, and we're going to talk about this very shortly. But the other strategy we have is where we submit our best and final offer from the get-go. Now, let's start off with the stepped up tiered approach, and I'm just going to explain what this strategy is very briefly. So maybe we're submitting a series or rounds of offers, maybe 2, 3 or 4 offers that are increasing in amount. So first of all, to undergo and to proceed with this strategy, we need to work out what we're willing to pay for this property. What is the maximum 100% we're willing to pay for this property? And only you can answer that question. So let's say if you're looking to make a specific return, what is the maximum offer you can go to and this property still ticking the box, fits your strategy, fits your criteria and fits your return on investment? Once we have that 100% figure, we can work backwards. Now, I'm not going to give you the exact percentages that I use. I'm going to round them to make them very nice and easy. But if you stick to these, you're not going to go too far wrong. First of all, let's make this first offer 85% of what we're prepared to pay for this property. So 85% of what the maximum we can go to on this property and the numbers still work. So make the maths really simple. Let's say the maximum we can afford to purchase this property for and everyone is still happy and the numbers still work is £100,000. Well, our first offer of 85% of £100,000 is £85,000. So that's our first offer. Now, here's the funny thing. We don't want this offer to be accepted because if our first offer is accepted, it suggests we've gone in too high. So we always want to be rejected on the first offer. If it has been accepted, you've gone in too high and you've learned your lesson. Maybe next time you can go in a bit lower. So we want this offer to be rejected. Great. If it's rejected, well, various options here. They could come back with a counter. They could just say, no, you need to increase. Now, the second offer we want to go to is a slight step up. Now, let's make it around 95% of what we're willing to pay. So again, let's use the example. £100,000 is our maximum. 95% of £100,000 is £95,000. So that could be our second increment, our second jump. Now, again, I'm not giving the exact percentages that I use. Maybe you could use 90, maybe you could use 95 for that second offer. It's completely up to you. But these are rough ranges. And if you follow this strategy, I can assure you, you're going to save serious money when it comes to purchasing property. Okay, maybe this offer has been accepted. If so, great. You've just saved yourself somewhere between £5,000 and £10,000 on the property purchase. Absolutely incredible. And if it's rejected, we can then go to our final offer and our third offer. Now, there's no hard rule here whether you're doing 2 rounds of offers, 3 rounds, 4 rounds. Pick something that's best suited to the particular property. So in this third and final offer, it's really important. Not only are we submitting 100% of our maximum that we're willing to pay for this property, but we're doing 2 other special things. The first is we're making it a very specific and odd number. So again, let's use the example. We're willing to pay £100,000 maximum. Well, let's make this number very precise. We could actually make this number £99,850. That's a very specific specific number, it makes the vendor and the seller think, oh gosh, they're going down to their last penny in their bank account to get this property. So make that number a very odd, specific number, number one. Number two is throw in what's called a non-monetary item. So it's nothing to do with price, but it's something else that will help get this property across the line. Now, what I like to do here is something along these lines. Well, you know how I said I complete in 8 weeks? In fact, let's bring it down to 6 weeks. So let's cut off 2 weeks and bring it down to 6 weeks. That's a perfect example of a non-monetary item. So these two things should hopefully give the vendor a bit more of a reason, a bit more goodwill to accept your offer and proceed with the property. Now, when should we use the stepped-up tiered approach? Really important question. We use this approach when demand is quite low for the property. So, there aren't loads of people viewing the property and there aren't loads of offers. And, maybe the property's been on the market a while. So this is the perfect example and environment on when we choose to implement the stepped-up and tiered approach. So to summarize, we're using this particular strategy when there is no rush. Demand is quite low, maybe it's been on the market a while. And it's really important that we give a certain time frame between these offers. Don't be submitting these offers day after day. You've really got to make at least, I'd say, at a very minimum, 3, 4, 5 days between each offer. If you're offering too soon or re-offering too soon, it shows that you're too keen. You really want to space these out. Sometimes I even give it weeks or 2 before re-offering. And again, it's all about gauging what you think's the right timing for the re-offering process. So let's come on to the second strategy, which is where we submit our best offer straight away from the get-go. And why do we even do this? Why are you telling me, Marco, to submit my best offer from the get-go when I could be saving thousands of pounds buying property at the lower price? Well, if you're using this strategy, you ain't going to be buying properties and saving that much money, because we only use this strategy when demand is really high and we want to buy this property, and even at the price we're willing to pay for it, it's still an amazing, incredible investment. So we use this strategy when timing is very thin. Maybe there's lots of interest, lots of demand in a property, but also maybe the agent's made a mistake. Maybe the agent has listed the property for too low of a price, and you really use this to your advantage. Another example of when we use this opportunity is when we're trying to build a relationship with agents. If we're trying to get agents to feed us property off market, well, we want to be having a good relationship. If we're giving them a low ball offer every single time, there's no chance we're going to build that relationship, and they're certainly not going to pick up the phone and call you if you're lowballing them every time they offer you a property. So if you're offering the best offer you can possibly afford right from the beginning, right from the onset, well, guess what? They're going to be coming back to you before they even put it on Rightmove and Zoopla. Now, don't get me wrong, your best offer may not be market value, it may be less than market value, but guess what? Your best offer works for you. So who cares where it is regarding to market value? As long as it hits your criteria and you're happy with that investment, that's all that matters. So when we're submitting our best offer from the get-go, again, really important things. We want to be making this offer specific and odd. So again, if we can afford to go to £100,000, don't say that. Make it a very odd specific number, £99,780 or £100,130, whatever it is, something, odd, specific, unique. And again, we want to be mentioning and selling our offers along with the non-monetary things such as, reducing completion time, or it could be things like, in fact, it could be the opposite. So if that vendor actually needs time to move out their property, what you could say is, right, well, I understand you need me, some time to move on and find your next property, in which case I'm more than happy to be flexible. If this takes 12 months to get this acquisition across the line, that is absolutely fine with me. So, you want to be matching your offer to what the vendor and to what the seller needs, because if you can tailor to their requirements, well, guess what? Your offer has a much higher chance of being accepted. So to recap, that's the submitting the best offer from the get-go, and we do this when demand is high and we want to acquire a property in a timely manner, and we want to be building relationships with agents. Now, with this strategy, don't see it as leaving money on the table, because your 100% of what you're prepared to pay for this property probably isn't going to be market value. Let's say your 100% equals roughly 95% of the current market value. Well, even if you're buying at that price point, you've still got 5% equity in this property as soon as you complete on the deal, so it's absolutely great. So those are the two strategies, the tiered up and stepped approach, and submitting our best offer from the get-go. Now, it's really important, along with these offers, we submit information that gives the agent the best possible chance to sell this offer to the vendor and to the seller. So what we want to be doing is, first of all, really important, attach a copy of your proof of funds. So this could be a bank statement to show that you have funds in the account to either fund the deposit or the whole purchase if you're buying in cash. Next of all, we want a copy of your ID, proof of address, again, all the legal things that the agent requires to consider your offer seriously. Again, if we're buying with a mortgage, we want an agreement in principle, or what I like to do is I CC my mortgage broker into the email. He will then touch base with the agent and say, yes, Marco's good for it. We've done lots of deals in the past and he can vouch for me. Finally, and everything that's really important, I always CC my solicitors into the email as well. It just shows the agent that, we've got an established team, we're ready to go, we're familiar with the process, and should the offer be accepted, the agent can issue the memo of sale straight away. So as promised, I'm going to end the video on 5 top negotiation tips, and these tips alone will save you tens of thousands of pounds per year when it comes to acquiring property. Number 1, I got this from a book that I read, which is Never Split the Difference. I can thoroughly recommend it, but listen for the black swans. Now, the black swans are the little pieces of gold that you'll hear throughout the viewings. And these black swans often occur before the viewings even started and once the viewing is finished. Because think about it, once the agent or the seller is taking you around the property, they're kind of in work mode, they're trying to sell it. But before they even meet you, and as soon as that viewing's finished, they're quite relaxed, and maybe they will tell you things that they shouldn't actually be telling you. So really, actively listen for those black swans. It could be something about actually what the seller is looking to achieve for this property, which is absolutely great. And you've got that inside knowledge on what you need to pay to get this deal across the line. Number 2 is timing is so key. So don't be submitting your offers on a Monday morning at 9 a.m. It's the worst time to submit an offer. Everyone's in work mode, the agent's got loads of things to do over the weekend, just catching up with their role. You want to be submitting offers. I like to submit offers in the afternoon. Wednesday afternoon is really good. Friday afternoon is even better, because if you can submit an offer on a Friday afternoon, say 1, 2 o'clock, if that vendor or seller is feeling happy because the weekend's coming up, guess what? You never know, that offer could be accepted before close of play, 5 o'clock on the Friday. Number 3, third tip I've got for you is build relationships with agents. The better your relationship with an agent, the more discount you'll get. This is how it works. If that agent knows, likes, and trusts you, well, all of a sudden, they can recommend your lower offer to the vendor and say, right, well, we've done 4 or 5 transactions with Marco this year alone. Yes, it's a lower offer than the other person, but Marco completes in a timely manner, and the other person, they're not known to us. So again, by building relationships with agents, you'll be able to secure such a good discount on property acquisitions. And if you're looking to build relationships and increase your property network, well, guess what? Sign up to our monthly property investor networking event. The link is in the description. So the 4th and penultimate tip I have for you when it comes to property negotiations is, in property, sometimes deadlines aren't real. Well, what do I mean here? When the agent is pushing you for an offer and says, well, you must have the offer in play by such and such date. Sometimes it's true, and sometimes they're going to best and final by those dates, but other times they're obviously trying to entice an offer from you. So I don't like to play ball when it comes to deadlines. I make my own deadlines. So don't give in to other people's deadlines. Yes, sometimes you will lose out on properties and they are legitimate, genuine deadlines, but I like to put time in my favor. And I like to be submitting offers when I think the time is right, rather than when the other side tells me the time is right. And the 5th and final tip I've got for you today is no deal is better than a bad deal. Do not be obsessed with completing on a property deal really fast and getting your first, second, third property offer accepted. Do not do this, because if you're trying to rush it, you're probably going to be more susceptible to agreeing a bad deal. Be patient, wait, and I promise you, I can guarantee you a good deal will eventually come. It's far better to take an extra few weeks or months and get a really good property deal across the line than rush it and get a bad deal accepted within a few days. And this relates to a really important point, which is the money you make in property often is as a result of the price you've paid for the property in the first instance. So again, if you're buying at a really good price and you're buying below market value, you have equity from day one. So irregardless if you're refurbing the property to increase the value, you've still got equity in day one, which is absolutely phenomenal, and it decreases your risk, it increases your margin of safety, and it makes everything else much easier when it comes to financing or refinancing or selling the property later down the line. So that's it for property negotiation. We've discussed 2 killer strategies, 2 great strategies to implement, and also we've finished 5 property negotiation tips to implement and for you to take away and use today. So if you don't have the time to search and look and offer and negotiate on property, and you want professionals and experienced property investors to do this on your behalf, guess what? Please head to my website, www.ms7.uk, click on the portfolio building page and book a call with me. I'm extremely passionate about helping obtain properties on your behalf, and I can secure great discounts, utilize my relationships with the agents, and get you great property deals across the line. Thanks very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.